Hey, we are running an episode of Trail Talk. We're out here with Brett Benassi of CRC Foam. We're in his Maverick Max. No, sorry. Yeah, it is a Maverick Max. Yeah,
Maverick Max.
It's not a Maverick R. That's what it is. Maverick Max, the long boy. We're not running a set trail today. We are going to just run probably out towards Flintstone House and back out. As always, you can follow along with us on Onyx. And on top of that, big thanks to Cardo for providing comms for this so we can hear each other and not have to scream. So anyways, Brett, thanks for having me back out. For those that don't know, this is the second time we did this. The first time we did it, I messed up the audio. And now we get it right again. So I guess it's kind of a win.
Yeah, that happens. It's tech, and we're trying to fit it in places where, you know, sometimes it's a little difficult. So
yeah, it's been surprisingly hard to get good audio in a moving machine like this.
Well, they're loud and clanky, and we're going across, you know, rough terrain, so it's the elements make it a little difficult. So
that's for sure. Anyways, Brett, this isn't your only car. You have a race car, another Can-Am. How did you get wrapped up in all this? How did you go from wherever you were to I now own 2 UTVs, one of them's built to the hill? How did that journey go?
Started out buying one around 2020. The purpose was just to go camping and have something like a toy to take with. Mm-hmm. So bought that, used it, went out, a piece of property out in Duchesne, used it out there quite a bit. And then we moved here roughly around a little over 4 years ago now. And when I got here, you know, I'd heard about Sand Hollow, and so I'd come out here riding, but then it was like going to like a takeover. I think Takeover was one of the first events that I went to, and there's just so many side-by-sides and so many events and crawling and all this stuff that I was just like, whoa, this is really cool. I love this. And so just things kept going. I really liked crawling. I wanted to, try it. I kept trying it in the 4-seat here, and it just isn't the greatest rig for that. So I ended up buying a car from Sterling Harper. It was called Slaps. It was an orange car. I don't know if you ever saw that car online.
Nope.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought, okay, well, I'll get this 2-seat Can-Am and we'll turn it into a crawler. So I went big with it, and just still wasn't what I wanted. And, you know, I could have done portals and, you know, probably down-tuned it, maybe, you know, whatever I needed to do to make it a crawler. But I went to another takeover event, and they were having drag races. And I was just like, oh, this is awesome. So I ran into somebody I didn't know at the time, Dave Phillips, and he knew people from Salt Lake area that I knew that did drag racing, like car drag racing.
Okay.
And I was just
RMR?
hooked. Yeah, at RMR. Yeah, so I had a little Honda Civic before, and he knew the guy that tuned my car. So we got to talking, and I didn't really even jump on the wagon right then. It was like I thought about it, and I thought, oh, let's do this. And then ironically, I forgot all about Dave. Sorry, Dave, not anything against you, but I just,
out of sight, out of mind kind of thing.
Out of sight, out of mind. I was just like, well, let's make this car cool. So I ended up doing a bunch of stuff, like, and it was just your standard stuff that you could do. Like it was a 21 Can-Am, and they had locked the ECU down. So at the time you couldn't tune the car unless you put a new ECU in, and I wasn't that committed yet. I just wanted to get it faster, start doing some local stuff, maybe do the stock class at the takeover, and then, you know, I got the ECU. We got it faster, did some cool stuff to it, and then started going out and doing some races. Went to Little Sahara, raced there, and I just didn't have enough in it, and there wasn't a whole lot more I could do. So that's when I was out here with Vern from RSK, crawling,
Okay.
just out here playing around. And he's like, well, you need to go see Dave. And Dave will get that thing. You can get that to be a really fast car. And I was like, okay. So then I went and saw Dave, and I guess that's kind of where it went from there. I got rid of the Evo ECU and went to a Motec and got some different paddles and lightened it up a bit, and then it really started moving. Then, it was
Is that
pretty
when
fast.
you switched classes too, or not?
No,
yet?
this is just the stock class. So I went and ran some stock races, didn't do so hot, so wanted to see where I could go with stock. The series didn't have a stock class, so I was like, well, let me text them. And so they would put on stock races if people showed up. So luckily, the events that I went to, we ended up getting some stock classes built, and I was able to race. So I got that car from Dave. We fixed it up. I started following the Sand Outlaws series as a stock rider, and then won a few things. Did a couple more events. Won a few there. Went to Yuma and tried to break some records. Didn't break the records, but did pretty well. And then since they didn't have a stock class, it was always in my mind, like I just was frustrated and tired of, going there. Well, I guess backing up just a minute here, there was the final race of the year, and it was in Glamis.
Okay.
And I did go out for that, and nobody showed up. So
it was you alone in the stock class.
So I couldn't even, it wasn't even worth paying to register or do anything, because there's nothing. Yeah.
Despite the obviously you can't compete. There's no one there to compete against. Does that just you win by default?
I just didn't even register.
This isn't even worth it.
No. So I just helped my teammates, kind of just did whatever. Didn't race. It was a bummer. So then at that point is when I was like, all right, got to make a decision. Keep going with the stock thing, because honestly, if there was a stock class, I probably would have stayed for another year or so.
Yeah, but it's no fun to build something to show up to Glamis and then leave it on the trailer.
Right. Yep. So if they would have changed that, build a stock class, I probably would have stayed. They didn't know. So I ended up doing what they call pro stock, and that's basically you can do engine internals and different clutching, and I don't know, the rules changed a lot, but anyway, you can definitely do more than a stock turbo. So I went to the 43 millimeter turbo class for a Can-Am. And
do they size the classes? It's kind of similar to sled pullers, where it's your inlet size of your turbo is basically what determines, how much you can run from your. It just determines the size of the turbo, and therefore determines the size of the class.
Yeah, for a Can-Am, it's 43. I think it's 46 for a Polaris. And
those two run together?
Yeah, they'll run pro stock, but because the Polaris is only 2 cylinders, the Can-Am's 3 cylinders, you need to give it, I think, a little more juice to get it to where the Can-Am is.
So they give the 2-cylinder a little more turbo to hopefully make up for the being down a cylinder.
So the class is even.
Gotcha.
I think it's a 46. I might be wrong, but anyway, so go to the 43 class, go to a race in Idaho. There's really no one showing up. Have a racing my own guys, kind of the same thing at Takeover here again. Takeover here was awesome. We actually had a pretty good showing here, but the Outlaw series went through some things. I don't know what happened, but there's just races were being canceled, or just it was kind of just in a weird spot. So, and it kind of still is. I don't know if I know there's planned things, but I don't know if they're coming, when they're coming, what the dates are, nothing. So at this
kind of
point,
a best effort series at this point.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the series to know what I'm going to do with this car. So right now, drag racing for me is kind of just in this lull. So in the meantime, I decided to start a business.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, you got jumped in on the CRC foam. I don't know if you guys can see all this, but this whole car is wrapped in foam on the roof, foam on the doors, and you were telling me it's it helps quiet down all of your rattles and things, and realistically being in it feels like it does for sure. But
Yeah.
how did you go from I'm gonna race to I'm gonna start decking out cars and marine sea deck type stuff?
I'm all over the place, man. So I just want to do something. I think that's what it is. I'm just getting to that point. I work in IT right now. It's like kind of my main gig, and I want to own my own thing. I want to own my own business. I want to be an entrepreneur. I know I'm starting late, but hey, that never stopped anyone. So
Hey, everybody has to start. Everyone that's made it has started.
I just wanted to start something. So I kept looking for things forever, like probably the last 2 years, just talking to people, going to events, seeing what new products coming out, just honestly just around the side-by-side industry. But it could have been anything off-road. I would have been happy. I just like off-road, but I was focused on side-by-sides because that's kind of just what I've fallen in love with. And I started looking at building parts. I still want to do that, but that's, it's a lot of effort that I need to put in before I do it, like learning, CAD and, learning a lot of stuff around, all of that I don't have experience with. So
the upfront on R&Ding parts is pretty intense.
Yeah. So, and then you get into the machines, right? Then you got to buy a CNC, and they're very expensive.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I were to do this part thing, what I would do is probably learn how to build and get a model of whatever I'm wanting to build, and then ship it out to somebody to like print for me or to cut for me. So I have, confidence in, okay, I built this, whatever it is, sway bar link, let's say, and I put on my car and I go run it for a while and just see how it runs. You know what I mean? And then just go from there. But the time it's going to take me to do that is going to be a long time. I'm sure these people that are doing it have had years of experience or been to school, and I'm just going to, I'm self-taught. So it's going to be a while. So I haven't abandoned that, but I still want to do something relatively soon, or I did at the time. And so I thought, well, let me find something else. And I looked and looked and looked, and everything that I went to go for was competing with my friends that own side-by-side businesses. Yeah, so it's just like, I didn't want to do that. I actually did look at car audio, and I did that for a long time in my early years. So I thought, well, that would be cool. I could do that again. I really enjoyed that. But I mean, cars is a no-go. You might do boats and side-by-sides, but and
well, I was gonna say, the car audio doesn't really line up with your previous desire of like, it's just got to be in the off-road world.
No, the only thing I could do though is like side-by-sides, but then again, competing with friends, because they're they install it. They install accessories, lights, stereos, all that. So somewhat still in competition. I didn't want to do that, so I thought, well, something's got to come around some point in time, and it kind of did. It was weird how this all came about. So I went to the off-road cars and coffee.
Yep.
And
let me just stop you there. For those watching, if you're in Southern Utah, I think it's always the second Saturday of the month. Either way, it's second or third. Go check out the Off-Road Cars and Coffee. It's an awesome event. A couple of my friends put together. Obviously, I don't know if you should go in there with the desire to meet a business partner, but it seemed like it worked out for you. Sorry to kind of jump the shark there, but you can go through how you got that.
So I went to the Cars and Coffee, and I met my now business partner, Chris, and he said he'd already kind of been going down this route. He does, art, design, custom painting and stuff for like football helmets for the NFL, or for dealers who buy like signed helmets that are custom. Anyway, it's a unique business that he's in, and he was wanting to do CRC, and he had the name. Like this kind of all started with him. He bought a CNC, he bought some templating tools, and he had it all. He needed somebody to like kind of introduce him to the community, and I'd been around and I knew quite a lot of people from racing and from just going to events. Mm-hmm. And at one point I thought, man, why don't I just do this with him? And I bothered him for a while. I think he wanted to get to know me better. I'm assuming that's it.
Want to jump into business with someone just like, hey, I've known you for 5 minutes. Sure, let's do it.
Yeah, no, I didn't go at him hard like that, but I was just like, you need some help, like in the sales area, sales marketing. I can build you a website because I do tech stuff. I can help you in that regard. Let me just help you. So I actually just traded this kit here before I was even in it, just for helping him get a website going.
This kit that's in the car now?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And I didn't even know what I could do with foam at the time. I probably would have maybe changed it up a little bit, but well, here we are. It is what it is. So time went on. I kept talking to Chris more and more. I was building his website, so we did associate more than normal, but I just kept thinking to myself, you should just approach him and say, hey, you want to partner up and let's make this thing happen. And I did. I talked to him a few times and said, hey, whenever you're ready, man, let's talk through it and see what we can pull off, because I'm pretty interested in starting a business, being my own business owner, entrepreneur, and just doing something for myself. And I'm willing to put in the effort, time, and whatever it took to get us there. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how it happened. And then from there, it's just been, we decided to actually, partner the business and get all the paperwork done, and now we're just trying to make this thing happen.
That's awesome. You've been doing it for, I think you said you started about January, you officially put it together. Yeah. What's been the thing that's kind of surprised you the most about going into this, or has it all been pretty much your expectations have been met?
No, I've been surprised a whole lot more than you go into something like that thinking, oh, this is easy or whatever. It's not easy. So right away, like the hard part of this business, Chris is great at designing stuff, and I don't do that part. So, okay, I let him do that. That's his bread and butter. The hardest part of this whole thing is getting cars templated. Okay. So having a pattern where you can lay out a car's dash, console, roof, doors, whatever it is, and then having the options of, say, like custom cage and roof, custom doors, custom, like for this car, they make an MTX or a Rockford Fosgate dash that has like 6-inch speakers here. So there's all these different options in all these cars. And it's so much harder than you could think to get, because some of these cages are built custom. They're just metal workers with jigs or however they do it, and they're putting it together. And the only way we can template that is to pull it off and use the templating machine we have, or have them measure it and send us the measurements, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's easy, but you get into dashes, or you get into like doors, if they're not the same or whatever, it's just challenging.
Well, it's like you say,
all the cars.
There's permutation within each car, within each manufacturer, and then there's more permutation by the time you go to something aftermarket, and then there's even more permutation there for, like you were saying, well, the cages might be different. I didn't build my own cage. I had Voodoo build my cage, but they actually built it 3 inches taller and a little bit longer in the roof for me, because that's what I wanted. So even even you can't just be like, oh, it's a voodoo cage. It's like, okay, well, it's a voodoo cage that Abe did his own dumb stuff with. So how do we get that? You have to do each one almost as like a one-off.
Absolutely. That's been a challenge. And then you got, the multitude of different car types. Like Polaris has way too many, but luckily they're, I'm starting to realize that there's a lot of them, like in certain aspects or certain places, are the same in each model. It's just getting all those models down, right? Like it's and now you got the Expedition and Defenders coming in, and they've got some well, at least with the Expedition they got some noise problems, and the enclosed one that people have been complaining about. So
yeah,
that's a good problem to solve. We've built a really cool kit for that. That's it helps. We haven't tried the decibel meter, but it might be cool to do one day.
Yeah, just go see what the change is, because I've been in, I think 2 of my last 3 rides have been in those Expeditions, and they're cool, but they do drone because you're almost like in your own subwoofer tube with the engine right there. So that'd be kind of nice if you maybe wrap that up, cover the bed, cover the back, the rear firewall, so you can cut down on that. Do you guys do stuff for things like this where, I don't know how these are in the rear, but in my Turbo R, there's a rear panel behind the rear seats. Have you had attempted to put foam in that? See if that cuts down on the decibels too?
Yeah, we've been looking at trying to figure that one out too, because I have a car right now, a Pro R 2-seater, that he's complained about, like even with headsets, that he goes on a day ride. I guess they went out to the Grand Canyon, and it was so loud when he got back, his ears were ringing. You know what I mean?
Oh man, yeah, that's awful.
He even had these on, and it still didn't help. So it's like maybe there's definitely like a problem to solve there for people. I do know, I like looking at the panel. It looks like 100 different flat pieces. So we're trying to figure out if there's a way to solve it without cutting 100 pieces and having to stick 100 different pieces on.
Yeah.
So we'll be looking at that with this Pro R that we have right now, because he wants us to help, but he ended up pulling his apart and kill matting the other side of it. So he says that's helped a lot. Like
was that
Dynamat.
kill mat? Oh, like
yeah, it's kill mat, Dynamat. It's kind of similar stuff. Anyway, so yeah, we're looking at trying to help that. I think aesthetics is another thing. We do a lot of, like right now we've been doing a lot of like flags and freedom themed stuff. So I think that's pretty popular with this community, and Chris does a really good job at like building up some custom stuff. We're about to do a Maverick two-seater with the flag, but like flags coming down the doors too and stuff. So I think
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think it'll be cool when we're done. I'm excited to do that job. And it's really anything. I mean, we can print it. Some stuff we'll laser in. We've got a laser, so like we did a Turbo R, and they have this little slot in the headrest back here. It's just kind of like a little piece that we stick in there as part of the kit, and we'll put our logo in there. We can put your company's logo in there and just laser it on, so it's really good looking.
That's awesome.
But yeah, just grinding it now. It still need more templates, so
just got to get more people with cars to come.
Yeah, it's been really cool though, because like we've had people reach out to us and say, hey, take my car, you can have it for a week, 2 weeks, whatever you need it. When you're done, let's foam it. And since they're giving us their car, we're definitely hooking them up with a deal, because they're helping us. We've got to help them back. So we've had that happen. The community's been really positive. All the shop owners around the valley have been super supportive of us and willing to shout us out on social media, or eventually hopefully we end up with our product in their shops that they're selling and putting on cars. We're still getting there. But
do you guys do mostly UTVs? Do you do Jeeps and other things? The UTVs have, not to discourage anyone or anything, but I feel like UTVs have more of a use case than something coming from a Ford or a Jeep or whatever, where they've kind of already got the interiors, like the fit and finish is already, what you'd expect from a 100-year-old manufacturer or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if they have the same sound or like problem to solve. I think that would be more for aesthetics, right? So it'd be like, I got this Jeep, I want this custom thing in my hard top or whatever, and we can do that. Or trucks with side steps. You want to put your business logo on your side step. That's a good example. Cooler tops, that's a good one. Cooler tops, that does help. It helps insulate your cooler more, and it looks cool. So,
and then you also don't lose your cooler, and if someone tries to steal your cooler, you can know exactly which one's yours.
Yep. And we want to get into we can do most of that stuff, like side steppers, RV steps for your RV so you don't slide, cooler tops, any of that's we could do now. We can do boats, but we haven't really been focused on boats just because that's just a whole nother industry that we have to template. We have to do all this stuff. So we're just trying to focus in one area, and then once this is flowing, we'll move on to boats and whatever else comes about. I know we have a template kit for Broncos, and we've done some Jeeps, but it's again, that's to me, I think it's more aesthetics than helping solve a problem.
So kind of to veer off course from that, but I want to get back to this. You have 2 Can-Ams.
Yeah.
Have you ever looked into doing like a Polaris or something else, or have you just kind of what drove you into a Can-Am, and why have you stuck with it?
I have a Polaris too.
You have? Okay.
Yeah.
And is that why you now have a Can-Am?
No, so I bought this car first. This is my first car, and then again the racing thing. I bought that to crawl. I probably should have bought a Polaris because that's just would have been much better for this environment. Mm-hmm. But I was a Can-Am person. Now I like all of them. I like KRX, any of them. I love them all. I drive any of them. But I bought a Polaris. It was an older Polaris, just so that I could come out here and do when I want to crawl. That's a car that I can, take a door ding or two and not be super upset about, right?
Yeah.
So
not go home and cry over that much.
No, it gets broken, then it sits in the garage, and I'll fix it when I have money or time. So
when you get around to it,
when it happens, and then so I've got a slew of them. I probably need to downsize a little, but I haven't figured out what I'm doing yet.
Yeah, if you were to get if you were to get rid of one, would it maybe be the race car, just because of the uncertainty about the series?
No. So when I built it, I was already weary kind of how the series was going to go. So I built it only for the pro stock class for a reason, because I didn't want, it is fast. It's a lot of horsepower. I don't need all that for what I am probably going to do to it if the series doesn't pan out. But what I think I'm going to do if the series doesn't pan out is just make that my dune car. So we do a handful of trips a year to, between Little Sahara and St. Anthony's and Glamis and wherever else I might go, Coral Pinks. Then I just take that car. Because normally I just take this car, and this car is fun to dune, but man, that car would be a whole lot more fun to dune.
Yeah, little less weight, a little more horsepower.
Yeah,
really getting after it.
Yeah, you can just really have fun, I think, with a little more juice. Obviously, it would have to take some changes to make it happen, but I kind of knew that might be a possibility. So I'm going to keep that car. I was thinking about selling this car and the other car and going with something enclosed, like an Expedition or a Defender.
Jumping on the bandwagon, huh?
I might. I have dogs, and we go on these long trips all the time in this, and it hasn't been horrible, but we'd like to be less dusty. And then there's times where we're going up in the mountains just before, like the weather gets really bad, and it'd be nice to have a heater. I got heated seats, but it doesn't really help your hands.
Yeah, your hands still get cold. Your face gets the wind.
It's in there, but I guess my drawbacks with one of those right now is the height of them. So I have an enclosed trailer, and I'm looking to buy an RV, and I need to measure one. Once I put, all the stuff that I'd want on it, how high is it going to be? Is it even going to fit in a toy hauler? All that.
The opposite of like the Can-Am, where they have to put the trailer extension on the back. You'd have to cut the top off and put a little bubble or something up there to be able to pull one of those in.
Exactly. Yep. So until I get I just lost my toy hauler that I had. It was an older one and it broke, so they totaled it. And so I'm in the hunt for a new one. But now it's got to be a certain one, right? So if it's for this car and I'm keeping this car, it's got to be something that's, 16 feet garage, because this is 14 and a half feet. And so, there's just challenges with that. So if I get that, then I've got to go. I found one that I want. I went to Salt Lake last week, and I found exactly the one I want. But
did you leave him a deposit?
So tall. No, I didn't. I almost did. But it's so tall, and it's I don't know if I can even taking the air out of the tires and trying to get it into a toy haul. I don't know if it'll fit.
Yeah, you really need to figure out. I mean, it could be worse. My dad, he bought a house and then bought a side-by-side, and then the garage for his house is a little too short for his Turbo S. No. So every time he goes to pull it into his garage, he gets out and has to let the air out, go almost to flat, creep it in, and then same thing to come back out.
What we do, see, that's the stuff we do for this, which I love. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to have to put little skates on it, switch them out, go switch them back just to get it in the thing. I don't want it to be a hassle. It's not a ton of effort, but it's kind of a hassle when you're trying to you got to deal with.
Well, you get there, get your trailer set up, and you want to just be able to jump out and go. It's just one more thing that you're gosh,
I gotta go take this thing off the skates and put it on.
20 lug nuts, 4 tires. Yep. When you'd rather just pull it out and just drive away.
And when you do it in the sand or whatever, it's kind of harder. And then I don't know. It's not that big of a deal. I have to do it with my race car, but it's a thought.
Yeah. Your race car, do you guys, so it's a 300 feet, right? Mm-hmm. Do you guys track your speed through that? And what's the fastest you've ever been?
So the fastest I've ever been in the new setup is I got a 3.995 or something. I have this slip. It's just under a 4-second pass.
What does that equate to in miles per hour? Do you know?
I was up in around 80 or 76-ish.
So that's 0 to 80 miles an hour within 300 feet on sand.
Yeah, I might be a little off on that mile per hour, but I want to say that when we were done, that pass was up in St. Anthony's. I don't think I made a 3.9 pass here. I might have. I have the slips. I don't know, but I want to say it's in the mid 70s as far as the mile per hour goes. But you do some of these other cars, and they're into 3.8s, 3.7s, and they're in the 80s, 85s, 88s. So it's probably somewhere in that realm.
Yeah. You said you made those passes in St. Anthony, and you haven't been able to get that speed here. Is that seems counterintuitive to me, because isn't St. Anthony's at higher elevation?
Yeah.
Does elevation I'm actually thinking I'm answering this as I'm talking about it. Does it have to do with the sand instead of the actual like engine output more?
So the elevation does impact it. That's where you can get into like tuning and clutching, because that's going to affect, like, you know, you could go from here to, well, more like you come from St. Anthony to here, or here to Glamis. For me, I usually have to re-clutch because my RPMs are usually too high, and I've got to, you know, tune it down a little bit, get my RPMs around 9,800 or 9,500 or whatever.
Okay.
We got them set to. You make some test passes, you're tweaking stuff, you make a couple more test passes, and then, you know, eventually you're racing. When we raced up there, I think the sand here is different. I think I was pretty close to one of the 3.9s. I think I didn't do very good here. I was still getting used to the car. It was a whole lot of change from the stock setup to what I did build.
Okay.
It was like over double the horsepower.
Yeah, that's a whole lot.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. So, you know, we went to St. Anthony's, and my first few passes, my adrenaline was pushing, and I was shaking, and I was like, wow, I wasn't used to it, that's for sure. So then we did some here for takeover. You know, I eventually got somewhat used to the car and did end up making a pretty fast pass. I don't know. Yeah, I think it was a 3.99 or 4. I think it might have been here that I did the 3.9. Anyway, one of the two. It was the weather was really good here because it was the takeover where it had rained and like blew all the tarps and everything over.
That seems like that's almost every takeover, to be honest. It seems like every week that the takeover rolls around, Mother Nature is just, it's like, absolutely not. We're just going to trash this for a second.
Yep. Yeah, so we roll in that day, and it's like snowed and hailed, and, you know, we're trying to retune our cars because like all the elements changed and everything. And so just for me, had some good passes, had some bad passes, raced some really fast people. You know, I still have a lot to learn if I stick with this, specifically in the sand drags. It's different. Like the way you line up is different from like that versus like a street track, right? Sometimes you want to be in the groove, sometimes you want to be out of the groove. How many passes have been made on it? And I'm still kind of, you know, I have people helping me, but I'm still kind of trying to dial that in, like where to set up, how to set up, you know, so that you're making the most efficient pass that you can. So I have my challenges, but yeah, I mean, the car's super fast. It's fun. I love doing it. It's just right now it's I don't even have a way to travel to go to a race yet. So even if there was a race, I probably wouldn't go. So if I race this year, it's probably most likely going to be whatever happens here.
Okay.
Well, possibly Little Sahara.
Gotcha. The other thing that I thought was interesting when we were talking about this off camera is you made some attempts at a world record before you beefed the car up.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned that you paid somebody to drive the car because, and not like a skill thing, or maybe it was, I don't know, but you said the majority of it was weight. And he was able to gain like a couple tenths on your times, right?
Yeah, like 4 tenths on my time. I was a little bit heavier then too, but you know, we get these guys that are like 120 pounds, and you know, I don't know if they pay. I didn't pay him. I ended up helping him out in some other ways, but I think he was paid. Yeah. But
sorry, I didn't mean to throw that in there. I think he was. Just got someone.
Yeah, there's just, you know, people that race there. I think they race like quads or something. So they're really good drivers too. Like if you can shed the weight and you can try to break a world record, put another person in that knows how to drive, isn't scared. Yeah. I mean, you couldn't just toss somebody that has no experience in a car like this. It's just crazy. I mean, You probably could, but you might
Probably
not break
end
the
up
world record.
You might end up in a pile, let alone not break the world record.
Maybe, yeah. But anyway, he drove my car and he got pretty close. I think we were within like 3 or 4 tenths of a second, which is still quite a bit, honestly.
Yeah.
But that was fun trying to break. That was actually probably the funnest trip I've had racing. Was that trip?
Was that just you just show up and it's just okay? Like how does that day look when you're like, okay, we're gonna try and break this record today? What does that look like for you? Is it just we need to get up early in the morning, we need to hit all our runs when it's cooler, like you do with a regular drag, or what is that like in the sand drags world?
So it was supposed to be a race we were going to, but the race was canceled.
Okay.
So we went to people were going to start to leave, and the race organizer decided, hey, let's just go to it's called Dome Valley. It's in Yuma, Arizona. But he said, let's just go to Dome Valley and do a record reset. And I didn't know what it was, never been. So I went into it completely like no experience, naive, didn't know what I was getting into, no expectations of anything. I just wanted to go drive my car and have fun. And it's like instead of just like setting it up on like here at Sand Hollow on the beach or whatever, it's like a legit like dirt sand, like a dirt drag strip. I guess it's kind of sand, but it's got some clay. It's kind of a different sand, but
it's not just whatever exists in the environment. They've kind of put it together.
Yeah, you got like a legit light tree, and you've got like lanes, and this guy has tractors and everything that after a few passes they can quickly like smooth the track back out so that you're trying to break a record, you want the smoothest pass you can get. So but anyway, I went in there just totally didn't even know what to expect, and we get there and like they're not starting the races until like 11 p.m. So you're working on your car the whole time. They open the track earlier in the afternoon, but for the most part we weren't really going for it until it cooled down, because it's pretty hot down there, and our cars were where we wanted them to be. So me, like, I still have my front diff in the car. I still have all this weight. I have all these like plates and stuff that I didn't need because I just hadn't made it that far in needing to lighten my car yet. So
yeah, it wasn't an issue at that point, or until that point.
I'm sitting on the grass, ripping my car apart, pulling the diff out, pulling all the weight I can get out of it. Other teammates of mine, they're helping adjust my shocks and getting them to where they're, I'm not pulling, I'm kind of just making a good pass. And by the time, I just kept making passes. They kept getting faster. We kept tweaking stuff, kept getting a little faster. And then really, the focus wasn't necessarily on me trying to break the world record. The focus was more on my teammates.
Yeah.
And he ended up breaking the world record while we were there, so that was pretty cool.
Was he a pro stock at that point then?
He was in the Dooner class, which is 46 mil turbo.
Okay. So that you said they didn't even start racing until late at night. Do you feel like coming from, racing cars, you had a Honda, and like I mentioned before, in the drag race scene, it's all, at least from what I've seen, if you're trying to break a record, you're hitting it earlier in the morning when the air is denser. But you guys kind of flip that and you're hitting it at night after everything's warmed up all throughout the day. Do you feel like you get that speed back from the ability to tweak and tune and test as the day goes on? Or do you think maybe they should have tried it in the mornings? Or is that just not possible for sand? I don't know any idea or any clue about hooking up on sand.
So I think the morning probably is the best time. Like you're saying, like the air's cooler. Mm-hmm. You might, I can't say whether like the barometric pressure is going to be the right thing. That all just depends. But elevation's good, so you're, you know, all that's in the right spot. But where am I taking us?
I don't know.
I might want it. We'll just go for it.
I don't think this is too gnarly. For those just listening, we're in car at Sand Hollow, and we're kind of in the middle of the park. And for those that know, you kind of either have your wild stuff over on the west rim, then you have your like really wild stuff over in the middle, right above the park on those canyons like Arrowhead. But everything in the middle is kind of a little more mellow.
Yeah, I think we're sitting over on the edge of Plan B right now, so it's going to be a little more crawly. I think we're into some stuff. Hopefully we don't have to turn around, but maybe. We'll see.
I don't think so, actually. I think I know where we're at. This is that path we came up to come out to Flintstone House. We already crossed over here.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we're good then.
So it should be good.
Anyway, back to it. I think the elements are good, but one of the caveats with this race was they canceled the race. It was supposed to be in Havasu.
That's right.
At one of an event. So what happened? Oh yeah, I know where we're at now. So what happened was last minute they called the guy that runs the Dome Valley Raceway and said, "Hey, are you willing to let us come down and just run stuff there?" And so he had all sorts of prep, and he had to find like people to help run tractors and do all this stuff just to kind of accommodate us for that event. And so I think, you know, we got there, obviously mornings passed, but I think they did run the next morning, but we ran all night. But we took off after my teammates made the record. And
yeah, once you bag that, kind of what are you there for?
Yeah, so we kind of bailed, and that was fun though. But I had a blast. That was the funnest track. It really, I mean, when you say hook up, it hooks up. Like sometimes you have to do some tweaking to your suspension so you don't just wheelie. Like that's a lot of it at first. So you'll get like your test passes, right? And you're getting there and you're set up for making passes in like soft sand, like here.
Yeah.
When you
Where
get
we
there,
just have moon dust.
Yeah. So you'll hook and go, but usually you're not going to pop up and do a wheelie. I mean, you can if you have a lot of power and you're hooking real good, you're going to pop either way. But like in this case, like my car was popping. It's a stock car, right? So you're making a hit. You're probably doing a wheelie and having to let off, so you're not making a good hit, and you're going back, tweaking some stuff to get your suspension so that you won't pop, and you sit down, and you're probably doing that how many ever times it takes for you to get to where your car will stay on the ground.
Till you stop lifting the tires.
Yeah, till you're done, and then once you get to that point, now you can start focus on, okay, we made this time, what are we going to tweak? So it's kind of a back and forth. I'm going to make a test hit. We're going to see what kind of time we got. I'm staying down now. Okay, now what can we do to beat that time? How can we get faster? Can we reduce some weight? Can we take parts off? Can we re-clutch? Is there some stuff that we need to change in the tune? Air tire pressure, like do we need to change it, lower it, raise it? I mean, there's so many variables because you're talking tenths of a second. So it's just really, it's hard to know. It's just all trial and error.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that, you've done it for long enough. They have ideas, but until you actually test that idea, and see if it works, you don't honestly really know. So it's a bunch of that all day and then kind of all night. That's just kind of how the whole event went. So most of the records were broken in the evening when it was cooler, obviously. Yeah.
After it's cooled down a bit.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, that that sounds like a riot. If you ever, like I said, I told you before, if you ever want some ballast weight or something in the passenger side of that car, I'm happy to take a spin in it.
I don't even have a passenger seat.
I'll put a bucket in. I'm good. I'll send a 5-gallon bucket.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe not in a 400 horsepower side by side. It's probably not the move.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. I used to take, like, I took my brother and my son and other people in it when it was stock, and it was fast. Don't get me wrong, it was still fun. But I felt safe, like, having a passenger. I had harnesses and everything.
Yeah.
That was cool, but not now. No way.
Now it's a little more Western. So.
Yeah, now it's intense.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Gotta have some fun.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, if anyone wants to get a hold of you or get some foam for their car, boat, whatever, they just hit you up. crcfoam.com, CRC Foam on Instagram, Brett Benassi on Instagram. Anything else?
Yeah, that's the best way. Like, we're really trying to push all the CRC foam cells to the website eventually. I mean, for now, hit me up. I'm available. You can hit Chris up, Chris Macier.
Okay.
Either of us.
Right on, man.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for
Appreciate
coming
this.
out and
Yeah.
talking drag racing sand cars with me. It's been fun. I love it. So
Yeah, it has been. Thanks for having me on. It's been cool. Love
for
it.
sure. Okay. We'll catch you guys next time.